want to speak anything that I'm not quite well informed with versus everything I told you I know from the Bible, and I know what I've researched. So that's where I want to keep it. I want to keep it just based on what I know. You know, and I also am not at liberty, you know, to say certain things right now. And but I would love to be back on your show again. I appreciate you allowing me to be, and I care about what's happening in America. I love my country. I've always been a patriot. I'm a part for our veterans. I want to start a magazine, and I've been trying to do that. It's called Patriots Helping Veterans. But I need people to help me, and I want to do it online, and I want to do a hard copy. And all the funds, the proceeds, except for what we have to use to this run fully, is going to go to the veterans, to the wounded warriors, to help them find homes for veterans. We've got all these empty buildings all across America.
Right.
We could set up shelters for them. So I am, and I have 5 other ex-veterans that are willing to get involved with me. It would be nice to have a board in every state where we took videos, interviews of ex-veterans from as far back as we could go, upload them on the internet, had the Constitution put up there. I know a friend of mine, he's a great historian. He wants to do a column every month. All the great accomplishments of our country, I would like to add in there, you know, our pitfalls, how we overcome them, how we can overcome them. So I want to create this magazine, and my purpose in doing that is to help give finances to the veterans who are, under the guise of the deficit, suffering great loss.
Right, and
they didn't run up the deficit.
Cindy, since I got you on, I want to let you know, because you mentioned they mentioned a historian. Well, yesterday was the 224th anniversary of the Coast Guard. Also, the 100-year anniversary of World War I too, as well. So there, it tells you that I do know my history.
Amen. That's wonderful. So then, you know what? We get it up and running, Mark, and you know, I want to get the people of America involved, because it's going to take all of us, you know, working together to help our vets. One quick story, and then I want to close.
Go ahead.
All about, I don't know how many years ago, but I've been in the painting business and restaurant business for years.
Okay.
And I was paid government post offices, and there was an old man. He was laying out on the steps of the post office waiting for his check. I was told he needed a cab, so I went out there to talk to him. I was inside painting. His little legs were swollen. He smelled like urine.
Wow.
So I called him a taxi, and when I could wait to leave for lunch, he was still there, and I said, I called a taxi. Why did you take it? He said, ma'am, I don't have any money. I said, well, let me take you over here to the homeless shelter where you can get something to eat and rest and, you know, get a shower if you need. He says, okay. So as I'm driving, I asked him, and I said, well, what do you do sitting over? He said, well, the hospital just kicked me out, and they dropped me off here. They wouldn't let me stay in the hospital. He says, I'm very sick. And I said, well, I want you to eat, you know, and I dropped him off at the homeless shelter. So I went back to work. I didn't have time for lunch. But while I was there, I couldn't get this man off my heart. And at the end of the day, my job was done. It was 5 o'clock. I went back to the homeless shelter, and I found this man. His name was George. And I said, George, do you have family? He says, well, I have an ex-wife, but all she wants is my check. And I said, well, would you like to come home and stay at my house till I figure out what we can do for you? And he said, sure. So I was a single mom, brought him home, and gave him one of our rooms, got him some clean clothes. I would take him to church with me and pray with him. He was the kindest man. And I had a friend who worked for the state. So I asked her, please run the make on him. I could find out who he is, if he has any family. Come to find out, this man had fought for our country. He had won every congressional medal of honor, including the Purple Heart.
Wow.
But I found him laying on the steps of a post office, reeking urine, and no one gave a crap about him.
Wow.
One day, his church. I had to literally pick him up in my arms and put him in my van, and I took him to church. I had my pastor pray. And he continued to get sick, so I took him to this old hospital where I live. And they came out and they got him. And when they took him into the back, I started hearing him. He's cussing, and I never heard George cuss. So I started crying. I was shaking. I said, "What are you doing to him? What are you doing to him?" The lady comes running out. She says, "Ma'am, are you his family?" I said, "No." I said, "I found George months ago lying on the steps of the post office." And I mean, I was bawling. And she's looking at me. She goes, "You're not his family?" And I said, "No." She goes, "Has he been living with you?" And I said, "Yes." And she says, "Ma'am, we know George. He's a veteran. We're going to get him to the VA hospital down south. And don't worry, we're not hurting him. He's just upset." And I left there that day wondering how many more Georges there are.
Yeah. A lot of
in our
them.
country.
Yeah.
So, America, we sleep well at night because of them.
Right.
We need to step up to the plate to help them, and it's all of our responsibility.
Right.
And I want to close.
Thank you so much, Cindy, for your time. I appreciate that. Great story. Thank you.
Hey, will you have a blessed day?
Thank you. You take care.